So without further ado, let me introduce Derrick Brooks.
Thank you guys for coming out, being a part of our social media expose here. Hopefully the first of many. That's important in life to make you transition, into being a successful person, becoming a winner. Some of the things that I've applied myself, not only by having a fun career here in Tampa Bay playing football, but also some of the things that I take into account when I'm away from football, transitioning into the business community as well as our community involvement. I want to start off by sharing with you perception versus reality. Whether you're in business, personal life, how you perceive something has a lot to do with the reality. And sometimes your reality may not necessarily line up as your perception. Case in point, this little kid I know in school, we call him Dirty Johnny. Dirty Johnny was a guy that earned the name Dirty Johnny. Everything that came out of his mouth wasn't the best thing for a 7th grader. He would say things that would make you say, you need to go wash your mouth out with soap, Dirty Johnny. And no one knew his last name. We thought it was Johnny because everybody called him Dirty Johnny. Well, we had a teacher named Miss Winehead. Don't know where she got the name from, but it was Miss Winehead. And Miss Winehead, one day we were sitting in class, Miss Winehead said, hey guys, I want to talk to you guys about perception and reality. She said, think, I'm going to give you guys, describe an object, and I want you guys to think about what you think I'm thinking and give me the answer. And she held her hand up, she made a big circle. She said, what I'm thinking about is hard, it's round, and most people think it's real good. It's big, it's round, and it's good for you, and it's hard. Immediately, Dirty Johnny threw his hands up. Miss Winehead said, no way, no way, no way. Anybody else in class? Lisa, you the smartest. You sure, Lisa, think about something. So Lisa threw her hand up. See, I got it, Miss Winehead. She said, you must be thinking about a nectarine. She said, no, Lisa, but I like the way you think. I was thinking about a grapefruit, but I like the way you think. Everybody, look at how Lisa was thinking. So now the kids, we thinking, okay, it's got to be some fruit, got to be some fruit. So she threw up another circle. She said, this one's about this big around, and it's not as hard, but it's good for you. She said, sometimes when you bite into it, you got juice on your mouth. So this Johnny threw his hands up. I got it, Miss Winehead. She said, somebody else, please raise your hand. She said, Ned, you got to know the answer. He said, sure, I know what it is. You thinking about an orange. She said, no, Ned, but I like the way you think. I was thinking of an apple. So then she said, well, I got a third one. She said, but we only got 5 minutes left in class. And little Johnny threw his hands up. I don't think it's fair, Miss Wine. You didn't call on me. She said, okay, it's only 3 minutes left. What could he possibly think of that could not? Okay, little Johnny, what do you got to say? Little Johnny say, well, I'm thinking of something that's this round, and it's hard as a rock, and it's in my pants. She said, Dirty Johnny, I can't believe you would say. He said, no, it's a quarter, but I like the way you think. Perception and reality. Even little Johnny got that in the 7th grade. In your business, whatever you guys do, I always like to think of people in terms of their commitments. Where are you in the commitment table? I like to think of commitments in terms of levels. There's 4 levels of commitments. The first one, I like to categorize people, and especially football players. I like to think of us as, where are you committed in the commitment? And I like to go back to when I first came here to the Bucks. Hopefully a lot of you guys weren't around back then to see how bad we were. Yes, we were. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. We were not a very good football team in 1995 because we had a lot of people that wasn't committed to the commission. And the commission was coming to work every day. And the first level of commitment, as I like to categorize, is called cop-outs. Cop-outs are people that talk a good game. They don't necessarily want to be a part of the game. They don't want to show up for the game. They want to talk about the game. They don't want to pay the price to succeed, no matter what it is. And I like to call them cop-outs. They like to get up, paint a picture that everything is rosy, but then when things start to get tough, they don't want no parts of it. They don't even enter the game. They like to see others do it and then go brag about how they talked to others about doing their job. A cop-out will be a person that says, hey, we're going to start this company. We got these great ideas. You're sitting down there with them. We're going to do this, and we're going to make this tons of money, but they don't never talk about what it takes. So someone else take that idea. They pay the price. And then you see this cop-out later in life, and they sitting around and say, hey, I was the reason that company succeeded because I gave him the idea. I would like to say a cop-out is someone in my own life, and I kid about this guy to this day, but when I played baseball in high school, he never played me. Even though I was one of the better players on the team, the baseball coach never played me. Didn't know why, but he never played me. So one day I just quit. I gave up. I can't go through this no more. And when I see him today, he tells people, I'm the reason for Derrick Brooks' success because I didn't let him play baseball. He had to play football. So I'm the reason for his success. I like to call him Coach Cop-Out. The next person that I want to talk about, I left my gum, is holdouts. These people, they'll start with you. They're on the team. They can see the end, but they just don't believe. So they drop out the race. It's a person that I can think of runners that starts a marathon, and after mile 1, they turn around and go back. They drop out the race. And we had a lot of these people in football on the team that believed, but they weren't committed. They were afraid to commit themselves because they did not see the end of the tunnel. These are people what I like to call, again, the dropouts. How I categorize these people is simply this. Their start. They start the goal, they start the vision. But as they start to see and say you're digging a hole and you guys got to dig a hole, get to the bottom, they'll start with you. And then they'll get tired because they can't see where you're going. And you start to notice their pace starts slowing down. And the further you get away from them, you turn around and you ask, come on, don't get out, don't hold out on me, don't hold out on me, come on, commit yourselves, but they're afraid. Those are people that I call dropouts. They don't see the goal through when the waves get rough. As I like to say, when the waves get rough, when you lose a ball game and they don't know if we can win the next one, so they don't commit themselves. I like to call them dropouts. The third level of commitment, I like to call these people the holdouts. And we're not talking about holding out for money and contracts. Not Albert Hayesworth. But we're talking holdouts. People is, they set the bar too high for themselves. They don't realize that their own limitations. So they hold themselves back. Instead of setting small goals and say take one step at a time, they like to skip steps. And when you skip a step in a goal, in my opinion, you're holding yourself back. These people, you lay the process out, and they like to get on the goal. They see the goal, they go through it, but they like to go from step 1 to 5. They don't want to go through steps 2, 3, and 4. I call them people holdouts because they're not really letting themselves go. They don't want to fully commit either, so they want to skip around. I like to call them holdouts. They believe, but they really don't believe. And the final level of commitment is what we're all here today. I like to think of us as all outs. We all out. I like to think that I'm an all out person. Most of the time. I say 99.9%. That 1.1%, we all are one of the others. But all out people, they're committed to the vision. They believe in the goals. And they're going to hang in there when the going gets tough. They're not going to turn back. I like to put the analogy of an all-out person is you're in that same tunnel and you digging even though you don't see light. You digging. We're going to dig our way out of this tunnel. No matter if we see a light at the end of the tunnel or not, we're going to be all out. We're going to dig. Those other level of commitments, they'll dig a tunnel. They don't see no light, they'll stop. They'll dig a tunnel and they see a crack of light and they'll start digging faster. Those are not all out people. All out is going to dig no matter what. All out is going to believe in starting a company and going to see it all the way through. They'll make the changes in the waves. The waves get rough, they'll ride different waves, but they're not going to get out of the water. All our people are willing to make a change. They're willing to realize their own limitations and say, hey, I can't do this, but I'm going to get some help to support me in doing this because I want to see it through. An all-out person really believes in the vision, in the goals. An all-out person is this example of two men, one named Joe, one named Jim. My friend Jim used to watch Joe get a wheelbarrow every day. And Joe used to look across, and they lived on top of a canyon, small canyon about 200 yards wide. They lived about 3 houses from each other. And Joe wakes up one morning, he said, I'm gonna roll this wheelbarrow across this canyon that's 200 yards long. I'm gonna do it on top of a rope off a ramp. And every morning Jim would see Joe practice. Joe would wake up, he'd go down a ramp that was about 20 yards, he'd take the wheelbarrow and he'd go across these 3 little ropes and go down the ramp. And he did it for about 45 days straight, only 20 yards. So every day that Jim watched Joe do it, he got more confident that Joe can do this. So Jim started telling everybody in the town, hey, you know my friend Joe that lives 3 houses down from me, he says he's going to walk a wheelbarrow across this canyon 200 yards long. And everybody said, man, Joe has to be crazy. We're going to start calling him Crazy Joe. He can't do that. Well, Jim said, you know what? I've watched him practice. I'm the only one to see him practice, and I know he can do it. I believe in him. I believe in him so much, I'm going to bet you guys $50 each. So for the next 30 days, Jim walks around betting about 50 different people, $50 each, that Crazy was going to walk across this thing. Crazy Joe was going to do it, but he never told Crazy Joe. So he goes to Joe and he says, Joe, I've seen you doing this for 45 days. What day are you going to actually take the trip? He said, well, you know what? Last night I set my rope, and in 2 days I'm going to do it. So Jim, he acts like a bookie. He goes around, hey, 2 days you got to pay up in cash because Crazy Joe's going to do it. So the big day comes on a Saturday. Everybody's sitting there watching.